Bill Maher had Dr. Phil, and what's her name? Batya Bunger Sargon? Like what? Batya Unger Sargon? I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. But anyway, she's the opinion editor at Newsweek. She's usually a fountain of incorrect takes. They talked about, on Real Time in like the post-show, the uncommitted vote in Michigan and how it surpassed 100,000, how that is kind of a message to the Biden administration, like, hey, you got to change your Gaza policy. This is hurting you, right? They're going to discuss that, and this is just an endless well of smugness and wrongness. So let's watch, and then we'll break it down.
Should Democrats be worried about the 100,000 uncommitted votes in the Michigan primary? Oh, yes, I read about this. Will protest votes over Biden's policy in Gaza cost him the election in the fall? If people don't know what we're talking about, Michigan just had a primary. Michigan has a large Muslim population. They're not too thrilled that Joe Biden is supporting Israel.
I love the framing. They're not too thrilled that Biden is supporting Israel. That is the most vague, soft, mushy explanation humanly possible. It's not like, oh my God, they're so upset that Biden is sending like bread to Israel or some subsidy. No, it's they're upset Biden is arming and funding the carpet bombing of children and the deaths of 35,000 civilians and the destruction wholesale of Gaza. That's what they're upset about, Bill. God, he's so biased. He's so biased on this issue. It's horrible.
Votes over Biden's policy in Gaza cost him the election in the fall. If people don't know what we're talking about, Michigan just had a primary. Michigan has a large Muslim population. They're not too thrilled that Joe Biden is supporting Israel in its war. And so 100,000 people voted uncommitted. These are Democratic voters who apparently seem to be saying we are threatening to support Trump, a known lover of Muslims.
Yeah, except that's not what they're saying, you absolute liar. And he knows he's lying. Look at his face. Look at this smug. Nobody has ever been more smug than Bill Maher, especially when he's wrong. They're not saying we're going to support Trump. They're saying we're either going to sit out or we'll back Jill Stein, Cornel West, maybe a handful of them, RFK, even though I doubt that because RFK is massively pro-Israel just as much as Joe Biden, if not more so. That's what they're saying. They're not saying we're going to vote Trump. And by the way, CNN did a focus group, and about half of the uncommitted voters say, I could vote for Joe Biden, but he has to change his Gaza policy. He has to. So this isn't like, again, the whole framing is these people are so unreasonable. That's the framing. Not that Joe Biden is unreasonable for arming and funding an ethnic cleansing and a genocide. It's all these people are so unreasonable. And by the way, let's be clear, they framed it as, oh, it's the Arab and Muslim American population. In part, yes. It's also a tremendous number of young voters, a key demographic for Democrats in every election. There wasn't a single, when like 50% of the vote had come in, there wasn't a single area in Michigan where uncommitted was under 10%. Think about that. Now, by the end, I think a handful of them dropped below 10%, but there's still 7, 8, 9, or whatever it is. But that it's not the idea that you're painting this as just unreasonable, Muslim Americans who are asking for too much and threatening to support Trump. Just totally dishonest. That is dishonest framing.
Support Trump, a known lover of Muslims. But this is a wedge issue in the Democratic Party. The young people, the kids, and Muslim voters like this don't want him supporting Israel. Many other people do. What are your thoughts?
I think that the media really, really wants to put this narrative out there that Biden is going to lose Michigan over Gaza, when the truth is he's going to lose Michigan over 600,000 auto workers because his EV market was extremely punishing to auto workers. And like we said earlier, there's been this big realignment where working class Americans are very, very, very much on the Trump train, people who used to be Democrats and used to vote for Democrats. And rather than admit that, this outrage that Democrats lost the working class vote and try to figure out how we can appeal to them again, they're looking for excuses and other things to blame.
Nobody has ever been more empirically incorrect than this woman right now. Okay, under Trump, there was net outsourcing of 200,000 manufacturing jobs. In fact, his big accomplishment, his tax bill, where 83% of the benefits went to the top 1%, that bill pushed outsourcing. It incentivized outsourcing. That's Trump's record for factory jobs. Loss of 200,000. Under Biden, there's been a net increase of 800,000 manufacturing jobs. You have the infrastructure bill. You have the CHIPS Act. You have project labor agreements, which helps raise the pay for over 200,000 construction workers. The NLRB is massively pro-union. The best part of his record is this. By the way, in the midterms, the area where Joe Biden did the best in the midterms, there was no red wave. It was a red trickle. Where did Biden do the best? In the same place where she's saying the working class is abandoning him. Democrats did the best in the Rust Belt region. You want to know why? Because they're bringing jobs back. They're bringing jobs back there. So she's saying this. She's reiterating this zombie talking point, totally disconnected from the empirical data of what's been going on recently. No, I hate to tell you, the real problem is what the media is saying. It is the uncommitted vote over Gaza. She's just trying to deflect. Jesus Christ, man. What a dumb show. You're just going to have a show where it's a bunch of idiots saying wrong things and lying about facts of reality. That's what this show is now. Smearing the uncommitted voters in the Democratic base and then lying about what's actually going on in Michigan.
War in Gaza, or they'll call them deplorables, or they'll call them racists, because they don't want to admit that Trump has picked up a lot of the policies that used to be Democratic policies in the 90s, like controlling the border, for example. The idea that an open border and mass migration is extremely punishing to the working class.
It is literally the Democrats who just proposed a bill which gave aid to Ukraine and Israel and Taiwan and cracked down massively on the border. They just did it. It was the Republicans who said no because Trump said, I don't want to give Biden a win.
It's class warfare against the working class. It is an upward transfer of wealth from the working class who end up competing with immigrants to the elites who end up employing them, and now they can employ cheap immigrants instead of having to pay working class Americans a living wage. Thanks, guys.
So we got manufacturing stuff, we got immigration stuff, we got is definitely not Gaza, what these uncommitted people are doing. She has no idea what the fuck she's talking about. None. None whatsoever. You want to talk about class war? That was the whole point of Trump's time in office. The whole point was the class war. The whole point was his deregulation. The whole point was the tax bill where 83% of the benefits went to the top 1% and cut taxes for corporations. He destroyed the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. You want to talk about class war?
As someone who's completely apolitical, how do you feel about it?
I love migrants. I think we've got to figure a way to get them in. And people will be very surprised how educated some of these people are that are coming across the border. I mean, they're much better educated than people give them credit for. They're not all just coming for agricultural jobs or whatever.
Shockingly left-wing take from Dr. Phil there. Interesting. We don't need to watch the rest of this. This guy chimes in. Tim Ryan chimes in, and he's like, it's not fair to say that Biden's not for the working class, and he cites some of the things that I cited there. I can't stand these people, man. I can't stand these people. Like, what happened in Michigan is a massive flow of uncommitted votes, the overwhelming majority of which is because of Biden's Gaza policy. And they're trying to lie about those people and deflect and obfuscate blame and do this old school bullshit that you could have said plausibly in 2015 or 2016 about, oh, Trump is, he's outflanked Biden on populism. Back then it was Hillary Clinton. But you could plausibly make that case. But now we have 4 years of Trump in office, and his record is not at all a populist, not at all helping the working class. Biden, on these specific issues, is the one area where he did pretty well. No credit on that. Still, the zombie talking point of, Trump's pro-working class. It's like the zombie talking point of Trump being anti-war, even though he's not remotely anti-war. And anything to deflect blame from the fact that Biden is supporting a genocide and voters are against it. This show has become so unwatchable over the years. It's smug time with Bill Maher. Smug and arrogant time with Bill Maher. Wrong time with Bill Maher is more correct. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.